Australian actor who played Robin Hood, Russell Crowe. When Russell Crowe did that Robin Hood movie, um, did you ever see that with Russell Crowe?
No.
Okay, it's a really good movie, but it makes very clear that Robin Hood is not so much stealing from the rich
Yeah.
as he is taking back from the rich that which the rich have taken because from the poor people because of their position of power and political influence.
Well, of course, dude. But that is
So
that's
it's a
that's.
it's
Go
a
ahead.
the Robin Hood in the Russell Crowe movie is a conservative hero. And Robin Hood is not stealing from the rich. He's merely returning back to the people that which the rich and powerful cronies have illegitimately taken in the first
Okay,
place.
but I would call that a liberal hero, and I would also say that the Russell Crowe version of Robin Hood is 21st century, progressive Robin Hood. But I mean, it's
No, he's
just
conservative. He's not. He's not a liberal.
well, how do
He's
you? Go ahead.
he's rebelliously taking back from the rich and returning to the rightful owners their personal property.
But where? I mean, what evidence do we have in this country of that having happened?
Well, we don't have the whole thing's a fairy tale, pal. I'm just saying that
Dude, I'm saying that's exactly my point.
Robin Hood is a conservative hero. He's not a liberal hero, which is why the analogy doesn't work with Obama because
Well,
Obama is not attempting to return to people that which is rightfully theirs in terms of what they'd earned. He's giving to people that which they have not earned as a result of their mere existence, which follows more to Santa Claus than Robin Hood.
yeah, yeah, but I still think Disney version of Robin Hood was a bit more simplistic than that. But whatever have you. Listen,
Well,
we got
if you know what, if you're more comfortable with the simplistic vision of things, Michael, I'm more than happy to keep you there.
well, and that's exactly because that's what liberalism is about. It's about if the world just worked the way that we in this bubble that we think it should, then everything that we espouse would work, and in reality, it never does. Now, listen. All right, let's move on. We got 13 minutes. And Michael, you and I both are committed as one of the services on the Right Mics. Among the many others that we provide is, and we feel very deeply about this, is we love to do and feel almost morally obligated to provide sensitivity training whenever we have the opportunity. Do we not?
Oh, you know what? There's nothing I do more often than to reevaluate and stop and check my sensitivity level.
And
Absolutely.
again, well, yeah, and well, that's what we do at the beginning, just to let people know where we're coming from. And I don't know about you, but extending that, not just checking ourselves, but helping our devout listeners become more sensitive in their lives as well, dude. I mean, like I almost view it as a civic duty. I mean, albeit a monumental task, given that our audience is mostly comprised of fellow right-wing nut jobs like you and I who are not sensitive at all. But having said all that, it is time. We got 12 minutes for today's lesson in sensitivity training.
That's a regular segment.
There we go. See, you guys, this is why Hausam and I are brilliant, because we just invent crap on the spot, and then we decide, we're going to do this from now on.
Oh, that's just perfect,
All
man.
right, this is via Vox, Vox.com, another one of my favorite, and again, favorite in air quotes, liberal sites. But Michael, here's the deal, brother, and I hope like hell, and I didn't tell you what this was, right? That you buy in because I know how sensitive of a guy you really are. Asking Muslims, this is particularly sensitive in light of what went down in Sydney yesterday. Asking Muslims to condemn terrorism by obviously Muslims is quote bigoted and Islamophobic. So, dude, we got to stop asking Muslims to condemn terrorism. It's bigoted and it's Islamophobic, and I'm frankly I'm ashamed of myself.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, I love the idea. This sentence is so good. The implication is that every Muslim is under suspicion of being sympathetic to terrorism unless he or she explicitly says otherwise. The implication is also that any crime committed by a Muslim is the responsibility of all Muslims simply by virtue of their shared religion.
And those
This sort
statements are both crap, by the way.
They're such total crap because those Muslims that commit, here's the deal, those Muslims that commit those atrocities, they clearly and definitively state they do so on the encouragement of the words of their holy book, and they condemn those Muslims that don't follow to suit as being inauthentic in their following it. I mean, it's completely and totally upside down.
Okay, so setting those guys, and how's I'm talking about the Islamic extremists, and ISIS, Al Qaeda, Al Nusra Front. I mean, up and down the list. Of course, they do that. They listen. Let's just for a second here side, if you will, or at least be empathetic with non-extremists within Islam. Those are the people that we're talking about here, and you go back to these points. The implication that every Muslim is under suspicion of being sympathetic to terrorism. That's partially true because they don't speak out. On the other hand, they are afraid as hell to stand against the extremists. But either way, it doesn't help. In my mind, it doesn't help the public perception of Islam. You know what I mean?
No, if somebody was running around setting fire to all the cars in Newport Beach, doing it on behalf of the Howsam name, it would be incumbent upon me to police my own and make a statement and try to get involved in the effort to keep the Howsam name from being associated with burning down all the cars in Newport Beach. The same thing goes here. I mean, if people were saying, if there was absolutely no Muslim connection at all, and they weren't mentioning anything about the Quran, they weren't mentioning anything about Muhammad. It was purely, literally lone wolf disassociated from anything to do with the religion. And then there was a bunch of people wading in saying, "Oh, well, this has become because of their religion," and there was some scant connection. Then Vox would have a point. Like, there's no connection to the religion. These people that are calling for some kind of connection are insane. Well, that's exactly what they're implying. But the reality is that the face of it is exactly the opposite.
Exactly right. And your analogy to, and listen, let's assume it was a distant cousin of yours with the same last name that was doing whatever have you. Not that it's your duty to rush to condemn or disassociate or whatever, but if it happened on an ongoing basis, I don't know, man. I have wondered wondered for years why, particularly in this country. I mean, you have Udi Jasser and other outspoken Muslims. You have the woman whose name escapes me, who lives, I think, now in Minnesota, who are brave as hell to come out and condemn what has gone on for the last, well, shoot, I was going to say 13 years, but you go back to coal and the first attack on the World Trade Center and whatever have you. The relative crickets. Of course, the left throws at us that all Muslims aren't terrorists. And we know that, and all Muslims know that. But the second half of that is all Muslims aren't terrorists, but generally all terrorists are Muslims in the context of what we're talking about here. So it's, well, dude, it's Vox. But I think we need to be very sensitive, Michael.
It's so mincing. They put up this tweet from this woman. As a Muslim, I condemn acts of sexual assault following time spent as a self-proclaimed spiritual healer specializing in black magic. Okay, so this is what's
Can't make it up.
Oh, and then the Vox castigates. The media has played a significant role in maintaining this ritual and thus the prejudiced ideas behind it. And then, yes, that
Wait, okay,
includes.
stop. Because what's completely ridiculous about that is that, the so-called mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, well, it's a cartoon. I mean, New York Times, Washington Post, gone out of their way to defend Muslims every opportunity they get, as opposed to demanding that non-extremist Muslims rush to the nearest microphone and condemn the latest act of Islamic violence. I mean, they're full of crap.
They're coming out and saying precisely why they're doing it. And these guys at Vox somehow know so much more to be able to say, well, that's not it at all.
Well, they're left wing. Of course, they know more.
They're deranged lunatic. We should treat.
That was redundant, but anyway, yes.
Exactly. Their final sentence. And we should treat Muslims as what they. Well, there's an error in the
Yes.
sentence. What they mean is, and we should treat Muslims as what they are, normal people who, of course, reject terrorism rather than as a lesser form of humanity that is expected to reject violence every time it happens. Now, here's the thing. I don't expect Muslims to reject violence every time it happens,
Right.
but I would like to hear them say, I reject violence that's done in the name of the religion that I'm a believer in. So it's that particular type of violence that I don't see them policing their own. They just
Well,
don't.
of course they don't. And one of my favorite ways to look at everything that basically virtually everything that you and I talk about, everything I write about, ever since I started writing, is the hypocrisy. Up and down the spectrum, and this. Although not related to Muslims, but I could not help but thinking how the left in this country, liberal media, uh, every time the nut job Westboro Baptist Church does something obscene, like protesting with vile signs at the funeral of a fallen soldier, or any number of other disgusting things that they do, the link to Christianity. They don't have any problem going there. But when it comes to this kind of stuff that we're talking about, then it's a whole different story.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because one is awful and the other is not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, just fundamentally, they're about peace.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it is. It is politically correct. Turn the world upside down on its head in a staggering manner.
And it's you know what, it's across the board, man. I mean, it's insidious. I mean, who said liberalism is a disease? Was that Ann Coulter?
Yeah. Okay. So we need to complete the circle though. To continue our sensitivity training, then
Yes,
we
yes.
need to set our own opinions aside, right?
Right.
And we need to ourselves take on the correct assumption that Muslims hate terrorism just as much as they do. And we need to stop expecting Muslims to prove innocence just because of their faith.
We should just accept that they abhor, that all Muslims abhor terrorism as much as we do.
Well, and not only that, but when there is instances of terrorism, the individuals have self-proclaimed that it is informed by their Muslim faith and in fact required and indicated by their Allah. We need to reject their own explanation for their actions and supply one of our own from a distance that they're actually just crazy, that
See,
that's
go
what we
ahead.
need to do.
Yeah, and see, listen, I mean, maybe we talk about this later, but you should take this a step further because you have last count 90,000. I don't know if it was emails, posts, or whatever in Australia. The hashtag, and it's not ride with Muslims or whatever have you, but you have non-Muslims in Australia by the tens of thousands reaching out to Muslims to say we don't blame you and let's be buddies and stuff. Irrespective of what happened in Sydney yesterday. So I think maybe you and I should start an initiative like that here.
Yeah, and good. I think that's good.
Yeah.
You know what we should also do? You know how we're having those the right mics kites made for awareness? We
Right.
should probably put some sort of tagline related to this for awareness as well.
I think you're right. All right, listen, once again, we're done with the half hour, 10 seconds, the right mics, Mike Miller, Michael Hausum. Don't go away. We will be back.
This is